introduction. You can read more on his bio on his website, but author of a couple of Sfarim, and currently serves as a Rebbe in Maggid Shir, has been a Rosh Kollel in the past, editor for Art Scroll, and a tremendous Talmud Chacham with a lot of interesting and amazing things to say. So we thank you very much, Rebbe, for coming and give us Chizzuk, especially during the current situation. So,
well, I don't know how much Chizzuk I can give, but I will try my best. Thank you for having me. As you know, there is a Gemara in Yevamos, Daf Samar Gimel, which says, "A kol purana shaba Yisrael b'olam lo ba ela b'shvil Yisrael." All bad things in the world only come b'shvil Yisrael. I'm sorry. Can you hear? Okay.
You're loud and clear. Go ahead.
And then the when it says afilu sfino shaba misafania, where they're going from Tzarfas to Sfarad or something like that, some other countries, it's Bishvil Yisrael. Now, this is very often cited by rabbis, this Gemara, because after all, it is a Gemara, as saying that the Magefos and Tzaros which befall the world have nothing to do with Yumos Olam, whom they befall, but only with Am Yisrael. To me, this has always been a very disturbing perspective. I don't like it, and I don't think it's true. It's similar to, in my mind, to the way that people in certain circles have decided that halacha b'yadua esav soni Yaakov means that all goyim hate Jews intrinsically, and they cannot avoid that because it's part of their genetic makeup. Have you encountered people who believe that? Any of you? No, you live in special privileged circles. But I encounter them all the time because I teach Yeshiva Bachram and seminary girls in Excelsior College online. And they have all imbibed this philosophy in their high schools from A to Z. And this is how much all the Puranos which comes, the persecution which befalls Jewish people is explained. Because halacha b'yadua Esav soni Yaakov, we know that Esav hates Yaakov. Now, of course, in Chazal, where Rashi gets it from, which is a Sifri, this refers specifically to Esav and Yaakov themselves and has nothing to do with anybody else, any national destinies. It only became a pasuk which referred to for national destinies. Somebody told me the first time is the Abarbanel. Since then it's been used a lot, but only since the Abarbanel. Now, so what do we do with this Gemara Yevamos? So we have to know there's a famous Gemara which says that Kol Kulo Nizam B'Shvil Chanina B'ni Nizam B'Kav Charuvim Me'erev Shabbos Erev Shabbos. Right? Everybody knows the Gemara. And there's the Chanina ben Doisa is the source for there to be sustenance in the world, and he himself only gets the Kav Charuvin for the entire week. So what does it mean, Bishvil Chanina B'ni? And this must be true because both Reb Chaim Volozhiner and the Baal Shem Tov make the same diuk. What's the diuk? It doesn't say biglal, because, on account of Chanina B'ni. It doesn't say mishum Chanina B'ni or mipnei Chanina B'ni. It says bishvil Chanina B'ni. It means that there is a shvil, a pathway, which goes to Rabbi Chanina ben Doisa to this world. If you know a little bit of a Kabbalah, you know that Tzaddik Yisod Olam means that the Tzaddik is the pathway by which Hashpah, Shefa comes down to the world. So when it says Kol Nizam Bishvil Chanina B'ni, it means that everything comes down through that pathway. And depending how that pathway functions is how it comes down to the world. Now, I'm not getting to the question right now, which is, what is only Rabbi Chanina ben Doisa, like this is Pashut Pshat, or are there other tzaddikim who also are the shvilim? That's a very interesting question, but not for now. But what that means is B'shvil Chanina B'ni doesn't mean yet that everybody's mezainis comes through him and only through him. You also have to merit your own mezainis. You have to merit, or you can lose your own mezainis. But the shvil goes to Rabbi Chanina. And if Rabbi Chanina's shvil would be not appropriate, it would be stuffed up, so then the world would suffer in general. In terms of results. In other words, the shvil, the pipeline, has got to be left free of obstructions. And evidently, the fact that for him, a Kav Charuvin is enough from Erev Shabbos to Erev Shabbos, that is the reason why he is an appropriate sinor. So since he's mufka from his own gashmius, that's why the pipeline works very well because it goes flows directly through him. So when the Gemara says in Yevamos that Kol Panash Ba'olam Lo Ba'el B'Shvil Yisrael uses the same language, not Biglal Yisrael, not B'Bnei Yisrael. What it tells us is this, and maybe this is even worse. It tells us that if a Puranus comes, it's our fault that we're not on a high enough level to stop it, because we're on a high enough madrega, then the Shvil would work differently. Either, I don't know if you call it an obstruction or a leakage or however you want to define it. But the way it works is that the shvil comes through us, and if our shvil is inappropriate things happen in the world. And, this goes back to Nefesh Chaim. Chaim, as you know, all the text talks about, and obviously it's based on Kabbalah, is how every mitzvah, so to speak, cleans the pipe. How every Avera damages the pipe. So when we are a pipeline, we're a proper pipeline, so things go well in the world. If we're not a proper pipeline, things do not go well in the world. And we also need a cheshbon nefesh. Our cheshbon nefesh is not like some people say, oh, 1 million Chinese died, it must be because of the Jews. To tell us a lesson. Not because of the Jews, I'm sorry. I saw some Rabbi, I think it was Rabbi Arosh, who said a few weeks ago that whatever happens to the Chinese has nothing to do with us. We're not going to get it. It's only to teach us a lesson from a distance. It's absurd. First of all, I don't know how somebody takes achrayas to say these things, unless they think they're a Navi. Maybe he does. And besides that, it doesn't make sense logically. It's not, and I'm mistaken that Kosh Baruch is going to kill 1 million Chinese people just because he wants to tell us something about Chilul Shabbos in Tel Aviv. By the way, once we're on the topic, there's a general rule of thumb, which is that most people who attribute terrible things to causes usually attribute it to causes of which they themselves are not guilty. So, for example, in Muncie, in our local paper last week, 2 weeks ago, there are four pages in Yiddish about how the cause of coronavirus is long shaitels. Now, the people who put that out were Rabbanim, who presumably don't wear any shaitels. But that was the only cause they could possibly identify. That is not the way a person's supposed to, the Rambam says, you're supposed to do tshuva in the face of a puronus. It's not to get up and point fingers, to look at yourselves and see how your pipeline is being damaged and how you're damaging the general pipeline and what you can do to make the pipeline better. That's really what it's all about. So, I once heard from one of my Rebbeim when I was learning this from many years ago, Rebbe Ephraim Eisenberg Zatzal, a beautiful shot from Reb Tzadok, and I saw it later in Reb Tzadok, but it's emblazoned in my memory from then, which is that, and based on this idea on Mitamida Yosem Mikulam. It says, Harbe Lamati Mirabosai Yosem Michaverai Mitamida Yosem Mikulam. Why Mitamida Yosem Mikulam? So the conventional understanding of that is that the Talmud asks many questions, and it sharpens the mind of the Rebbe. But he says differently. It's this beautiful shot. He says, if you're an individual, you have an individual pipeline. If you're a friend, you might have a pipeline which is appropriate for you and your friend. But if you're a Rebbe, then the pipelines for each and every one of your talmidim have to come through you. Because the shefa, which is going to come to them for this time of learning, has got to come from you, and you have to be able to be mashpia to them. So koiches and yedias and the drachim in learning, which you might not have had previously, you have to be given them now in order to be able to talk to your talmidim and teach your talmidim what they have to be taught. So therefore, the talmid Yosef B'Kula means that my pipeline is enhanced and expanded by all these other pipelines. It may be a better muscle for today would be, if you have a cable, which includes many cables inside it. So those are all the cable. My cable becomes larger because of that. Now, this is obviously what a person has to strive for because it's good and proper and good for a person too, which is that a person should be a pipeline to as many people as possible. HaKadosh Baruch Hu put each one of us here in this world in order to be a pipeline. I think in this way, I just thought of this right now, to be honest, it requires more analysis, but Reb Shimon Shkop in Akdam Shar Yosher, he speaks about, if you have not learned Akdamat Shari yet, you're missing out on the most important piece of Jewish thought in the last 500 years, and you don't know very much about Judaism. So you should go and learn it. But, so Akdamat Shari he says that, he explains how, if HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants us to all be mative to others, HaKadosh Baruch Hu gave us an inclination to self-love. And again, if you were saying Pashup Shot, you would say it's an Isayon. You have to you overcome self-love. But what the Shari Yosher says is that the sense of self of a person has to be expanded over and over again. In other words, a person who's a very low person, a very small-minded person, and a very coarse person, his sense of self, of atzmi, it could perhaps see his physical pleasures. A person who's a little bit more sophisticated includes his accomplishments in the world. A person who's a normal person, his atzmi is not just his self, but his family, his extended family. A person whose atzmi is even greater extends to the community, or to Am Yisrael, or, he says in the case of greatest tzaddikim, to the entire world. So, he says, and that's what Hillel says, Im ein ani li mi li, I have to be for myself. That's the way it's good. The world is created. Uchshani latzmi. But if my sense of self is just my ani, by myself, and nobody else is including my ani, money, what is my ani worth? So a person's ani, in order to be worthwhile, has to be more inclusive, more expansive, and that's how a person works on using the midah of avas atzmo for the purpose of enhancing his avas Yisrael and avas to the world in general. And it could, and again, I didn't think of it till now, but it really makes sense to me. So I'm talking about it, that this is the idea. Reb Shimon's expanding pipeline. I always used to think of it as a tree, which grows more and more circles. But it could be it's like a pipeline, which expands. The more a person focuses on being a pipeline to others, the greater a person himself becomes, the greater place the world itself becomes. So what we have to take from this time of Magefa, and I want you to know this is very impressive that you guys do this, and shows how your pipelines merge, and you make sure to keep them merging, and that's a wonderful thing to do. And Yasher Kochachem and Sher Kochachem L'Oraisa is to continue to work in this direction of devoting ourselves to being mative with others and figuring out what we can do in order to bring more shefa of kedusha into the world. And of course, there's an obvious thing which I mentioned, but of which I'm at fault, so I think I'm allowed to mention it, which is that when we know that the Beis Hamikdash is because of Sinas China, and here in our Magefa, our Mekayim Satira are being nechrav. They're chorev shomema b'libaneha, right? So I think it's fair to make an assumption that Hakadosh Baruch Hu was telling us, and I'm not an Avi, I don't know, just assuming that Hakadosh Baruch Hu was telling us that, you guys have been in Golos a long time because of Sinas Chinam. You're doing a pretty rotten job about it. I'm sending you a reminder why you're still in Golos. Still in Golos because there's something wrong in interactions with each other. And there are always these people with whom you have very little patience. I want to give you if I can just give you one interesting nakuda, which it's kind of humbling to me, which is that now I'm teaching online, as everybody else is. And what I do is I give a 15-minute video shir, which you can I put it on YouTube afterwards as well. And the kids have to write notes and send me the notes, and I grade their notes. And what I saw is el yoinim lemata v'tachtoinim lemala. In other words, students who the entire year, and I've had some of these students, it's my second, how many teaching students I'm teaching, at least 2 years. So the students who were always at the back of the classroom, out of the classroom, schmoozing, all of a sudden they're doing incredible work. And with the kids who do the rest of the incredible work, some of them are not even giving me papers. And I spoke to my brother-in-law, who's also mechanic today, and he said the same thing with him. He knows the same thing. Now, this shows our failure as mechanchim. Because that means that, yes, I know the system is a failure, and yes, the system is a failure, and I don't take all the blame, for sure. But there is this, we play along with the roles and the stereotypes which we assign to the students, or the students might have picked up in first grade or second grade. And they've been stuck in that same school since. And they've been stuck in this place where, yeah, I'm not one of the learners. I'm one of the guys who goes outside in the hall as much as possible. And I'm not one of the guys who takes notes. I'm one of the guys who either too cool to take notes or too untalented to take notes. But one of these kids calls me now almost every day, and he produces tremendous work. I wouldn't have thought of it. That's extraordinary. Extraordinary. So you never, when you have, again, it's the same idea. It's not sinas chinam in the same sense, but not having the proper ha'aracha, the proper respect, the proper sense of responsibility and Ahavas Yisrael to others, to our talmidim, to our chaverim, is something which all of us can work on, and all of us should be humbled by the amount of work we have to do. So it should be zoicha to get through this period with cheshbon nefesh, something which actually relates to us, and with an understanding that when Puranus comes to the world, it's not that there is a reason why other people suffer, and it's a tragedy. We should be moaned that other people suffer, but we are supposed to find out why our shvil did not prevent that from happening. A good Chodesh and a good Shabbos, everybody say.
Rob, I have a question.
Yeah. Sure.
What you were saying before about like the pipelines and stuff, is that where the Hasidim get the concept of davening through the Rebbe?
Oh yeah, sure, of course. Yeah, the tefillah.
Where's the? I had a Rebbe in Eretz Yisrael who always told me that there's no source for this. Where is there a source for this? Like a
Yes.
proper like.
There happens to be a wonderful essay written on the topic by myself. It's called Forks in the Road, and you can find it just do an internet search Forks in the Road Beckhofer, and you read it and you get back to me with your questions.
Thank you.
Okay, obviously you know how to find me. All right.
Okay, what's it called? What's
Forks in the Road. New, I think I have some title, but it's about the two types of Hasidus and two types of Misnaglus. Two types of Hasidus are Chabad and everybody else, and two types of Misnaglus are Brisk and everybody else. No, it's Brisk and Musar. So those are, and I try and find the fundamental principles of each and compare and contrast them in a somewhat objective way. All right?
Thank you.
My pleasure. Okay. Good Chodesh, good Shabbos.
Thank you, Rabbi.
Thank you, Rebbe.